Hey, this is Kevin, CEO of ProToCEO, and today I want to talk to you on how to become your own boss. I'm talking to the people who may want to become an entrepreneur, someone who may want to start their own business. But what you're essentially saying is you want to run your own space. You want to be your own boss. You want to answer to no one but yourself to some degree. And you're prepared to do what it takes to do that. So I want to talk to you about being that newcomer in that space and what kind of thoughts you need to have in order to bring that to fruition. First, basically, you got to have a real clear desire, the desire to want to do this more than go to work for somebody, more than sort of occasionally go to work part time. Because when you decide you want to do this, your desire levels better be pretty high, because it will take, to me, a lot of consistency, a lot of patience, a lot of time, a lot of dedication to this new endeavor that you're deciding to go upon. So don't take it lightly. Think about your level of desire. Is it a 10? Is it a 5? If it's a 5, then I would encourage you to think about it and take your time before you make the quantum leap and leave your job, etc. Or, get ready to invest a bunch of business money in a business and you don't have the desire to keep it going after maybe a couple months or a year or so. So think about your desire level. To me, has to be extremely high. And if you don't have that, you don't have the desire to get up and feel like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do it. No. The thought is you want to think about it positively. You want to think about it as, I get to do this. I get to choose who I work with. I get to choose the type of projects I want to work with. I get to choose the field that I would need to and want to excel in. I get to make this kind of money if I do extremely well in that. So also, though, you get your series and shares of issues that come with that. So as much as it may feel initially like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. No. I want your mind to stay on the high side, the positive side, and you really get to control your schedule. You get to say when you want to shut down and when you want to start up. You can stop in the middle of the day if you want, or you can work into the middle of the night and then go to sleep, get back up in a couple hours and start wherever you are. If you're working from home, you get to do that if that's what you want. If you have a workspace you like to work in, you get to do that. So there's a lot of positivity here, but the number one thing is, where's your desire level? Where is it for this endeavor that you're about to be the boss of yourself? So think about that before you jump in. The second thing I want you to think about is prioritization. What are you going to do? What is it that you actually are cut out to do? I think of it like this. You can have an interest all you want, but you also got to think about, is that interest really strong? Again, I go back to the desire of it. Are you so burning that that's all you can think about? That's the thing that sort of in your day-to-day job, if you're still working and you haven't left your job, you are thinking about that being your profession. That is all you can really think about. And then with that, your interest level is so high, you're seeking out opportunities to really go research it. You're putting in time, you're finding ways to do it on your own time over the weekend. In your spare time, you're literally on fire for it. It's all you pretty much can think about doing professionally, besides what you're currently doing if you haven't left your current job. Now, the other thing is, what is your ability to do that? Do you have the skill set? A lot of people want to do something in construction, or they want to do something in engineering, or they want to do something in a specialized segment like entertainment or fashion. If you don't have that skill set yet, the ability to do it, then you've got to think about what you have to do in order to prepare yourself to begin to have that skill set to become your own boss in that space. And that means you've got to put in the work. And if you have not yet, then I would advise you to begin whatever type of training, hire yourself a coach, get you a partner who's good at one aspect of it that you're not good at. But whatever it is, make sure your interest level is very high, but also the ability to do that. And that means if you have to, get a certification, or if you have to get another degree, or you have to get licenses, be prepared to study long and hard, and be prepared to possibly have to take series and series and series of tests, and consistently keep those active and keep those current, and be able to have the money to keep those current as well. It takes a lot to want to have the ability to do something beyond just the talent. Nowadays, it requires licenses, it requires fees, it requires continual renewals of certain things. So remember, don't just think, hey, once I get this degree, that's kind of all I have to pay for. No, it's going to be lots of other possible certifications and requirements for you to enter that field. So remember that. So once you have the desire, once you have the interest and ability down pat, I want you to think about prioritizing. Now, what if you have 2 or 3 things you're thinking about doing, narrow it down to one. And how do you do that? You narrow it down and say, I might want to start a franchise, or I might want to start something on my own. A franchise is always, something that's a model. It's been out there, it's proven. That's something that you can do. And there's a way to do it. Step A through Z, it's already sort of like a business in a box. Your own entity, now that's not going to come with a lot of instruction, but it's the one in which you get the most control, because it is your thing. It is what you want to do. So I want you to think about what it is that you want to do. Do you want to start something that's sort of already carved out and figured out, and you just want to pay into it to start a business, or you want to think about starting your own? And you want to prioritize it. What are the pros and cons? Do an old-fashioned pros and cons list. I can tell you, get a sheet of paper, split in half, put both ideals, one ideal on one sheet of paper, one ideal on another, and do a pros and cons list, and see how many pros you have versus cons on one area of business, your own ideal, or a possible a franchise. And then from there, you get to decide which one. And if you decide, like, hey, my idea I feel strongly about, I have a lot of passion for, I think I really want to do this, my desire level is extremely high for this. This is what I want to do in order to become my own boss. So to me, if that's the way you're thinking, then that's the way you may want to go. But let me caution you, there's a lot more in store here as I go through this. So you've decided on prioritizing what kind of business you want to do. You decided to go possibly your own business and not a franchise, not buy into someone else's business. You're going to go off on your own, because most people do that. They generally want to go in a space that they can control and have creative freedoms, etc. Then from there, you want to look at this business, and I really want you to qualify this. I want you to kind of qualify in your mind the business that you decide to do. Is this a business that can really solve a problem? Before you get going here, you really decide your business is something that you really are excited, you want to do it. It is something that you really believe you can solve a problem. Now, then I want you to do your market research. You want to do research on determining whether this is a problem you really are good enough to be able to go in and compete at. And from there, the problem is big enough where you can go out and get a piece of that business. You're solving problems like in technology, you're solving problems in education, you're solving problems in the automotive industry, you're solving problems in a government or workplace organizational need. You have found a niche that you believe you can solve a problem, and it's big enough for you to get in there and get a piece of that. Sometimes what we don't always know is this business a really big opportunity, and if you don't do your research, you won't know that, and you can go off and get into a business and not have done the homework, and then find out later that this business wasn't as lucrative or as abundant as you thought, and then you're going to have to really work hard to find business in this space. So do your homework is what I'm saying. Do your market research. Even pay for data that suggests what are the trends in this? What's the future of this industry? Where is it going? What is it doing today? What is it doing 3 years from now, 5 years from now, even 10 years from now? Will this be a big business enough for you to stay competitive for a very long time? So do your research. I like to think of it like this. It's like sort of like content, is this sort of a nice thing to watch, or is this a must to watch? So your business should be, is this a nice business I'd like to do? It's kind of fun. Or is this a must have in terms of the need that you're going to have filled for your business? It's much more lucrative to have a must have business versus a nice to have business. A nice to have business will probably do okay depending, or it may not. You will always struggle because it's not a desirable high level need. But a must-have business, meaning people can't do without it. They are always in need of this service. It's things like infrastructure, things like healthcare, transportation, public service work, policing, things like that. Those are like, we gotta have those. Those are just are so essential. It's non-negotiable that we have to have those. Some of the other ones that may not be as essential is, fashion. Not all the time, always in season. Sometimes the industry slows down. It could be something that if you design the right thing now, then people have to have it. It becomes a must-have thing. So some industries are more desirable than others. So I just caution you, when you decide on types of businesses, think about it, your business. Is it a must-have or a nice-to-have? And if you do have that, then it's a great thing. The next thing is, can you win a space in that market? Can you really, really come in and be able to price yourself right, and be able to not underprice yourself just to get in, but also price yourself right to be able to have enough profit over your expenses. And if you have other people involved, it's enough money to go around to pay them. And don't forget, money for taxes, money for expenses, equipment, money for things that are essential to your business these days, paying for fees to host your website, paying for services and graphics. If you're not a graphics person, you have to maybe have that farmed out. All those services you've got to keep in mind, and that's why your pricing has to be there. So can you get in that space, and can you do a good job? And that is something that you've got to really figure out. And you don't want to underprice yourself, because then that can put you in a situation where you're not making enough and you can put yourself at a disadvantage. So keep that in mind, and keep that really, really key to you, because if you don't price yourself right, then you will not be able to be in business long enough to really get a return on all the investment. The next area I want to talk to you about is really thinking about resources. Businesses do not run very cheaply. In most cases, businesses are going to cost 2 to 3 times more than you ever imagined. So having the resources to be a startup and to get to a position where you're your own boss is really going to be essential. On, do you have enough resources either saved, or you can have enough people invest in your concept that will wait on a return on investment because they believe in your ideal enough. There's like lots of really details, and we'll be getting into those as I do more of these videos, and really getting down to how do you get to the essentials in even more detail. But I'm just saying, on a high level here, resources. One of the ways is you can always save money by putting it away. Even if you work for someone, you can create accounts where you have enough where you're putting some away for your retirement. You have other funds that you're saving for, and you could even have a fund for a business startup that you want to do one day. even when you're working for someone, you can put away enough money sometimes to be able to have that to pull on to start your business. Some people have done that. You've all may have heard of someone pulling on one of their accounts that they may have put away for something, and they decide to go for it, and they pull from that to start their business. Sometimes that does happen. Other times, some people bootstrap their business. But however you decide to do it, it's going to take resources. Unless you have a contract waiting for you and it pays way over and above than what you thought it would cost you to do the work, and then you have a margin of profit that would be very respectable, like a 20% or more profit would be respectable, then you have margin and you have made profit on that business. But if you don't have that just sitting out there as a startup, and most people don't, that's why it takes lots of capital to save and start up. That's why being your own boss requires you to be able to be ready for the long haul. And the other thing is, do you have what I call the wherewithal to stay in the game? This is probably some of the more essential skills here. It's going to take everything you got if you want to be your own boss. You have to be the person who accepts what they call the overall fiduciary responsibilities of that organization. Everything that comes with being your own boss, you now own it. And that's a big task. So if you aren't ready to be able to really accept responsibility at a very high level, and it comes at you every day, it could come at you some days slow, but other days very fast and consistent and very high level, you may not be ready to be your own boss. And that's why I'm doing this video. I'm trying to give you some essential tips to think about. So are you willing, when you do this, to have the wherewithal to accept your responsibility and everybody else's? Because you're the CEO, you're going to be the boss. If you know that you have a job to do, but if someone else doesn't do their job and it impacts your company, you have to accept the overall responsibility. Are you willing to do that in terms of being your own boss? If you are, then you're on your way to thinking. As your own boss too, if you have other people involved, you got to be willing to stop what you're doing, to listen, and to be able to hear them out and be able to take in issues and be able to help other people solve their issue. Because what you're doing, you put a business together, you may well have other people working with you. Now, if it's not going well, you have to stop and hear it out, because if it doesn't go well, that's on you and your company. So a tip is be available to listen and hear what's going on in your business, so nothing gets by you. So you don't have an issue later on that says, man, I didn't know that was coming, but somehow it got by me. No, you can't do that when you have your own business. You have to be aware and have to be able to take that responsibility. And then the next thing is to take accountability for your actions. If you do something wrong, you have to own it as the CEO. You have to admit if it isn't right, to forthrightly come before whoever it is. It could be a client, it could be an employee, and have that conversation around, we're sorry, we didn't quite meet expectations, or we didn't quite do what we thought we were going to do, or this happened with the employee in what we were doing for you and it's not acceptable and we apologize, or we heard something didn't work out for what we were doing for you as a company, and we heard that you were not happy with it, so therefore we're prepared to do this. First of all, apologize. First of all, talk through the issue, and then offer a way for resolution so you keep that business. But you have to take accountability for that and be able to do that consistently, because your business is not going to be perfect. I can tell you that. I made many mistakes in building my business and being able to bring other people into my business and not always have it perfect and ideal. It can go well for a little while, and then sometimes things go in another direction. And can you recover from it, or do you part ways? So you have to own it. You have to take responsibility for it. and you have to stay on top of it. So, certainly keep those things in mind as you are literally going to be in this day in and day out. And do you have the mental capacity really to be ready for this? Is sort of one of my final tips here. Are you corporately ready to be that corporate athlete, that CEO, leading your organization, leading your company, leading your small business, whatever it is? Are you mentally fit for this race? It is not the hare, it's the tortoise that wins. Are you in this with a tortoise strategy, meaning it's a marathon, it's not a sprint? You're willing to put in the work to determine whether or not you can build your business up and you are that boss that you desire to be. So my tips to you, certainly, I hope you were able to hear out some of the things that would help you be your own boss today. Again, you can listen to this again. I think it's worth doing because it'll give you some insights, but how to become your own boss and really do it well and thrive is certainly what I'm trying to communicate to you today. So thank you for tuning in. I hope this will help some of you that are desiring to become your own CEO, your own boss, your own entrepreneur. I'll be offering more tips and insights on this as I post more videos. So this is Kevin Carr, CEO of ProtoCEO, and hope you enjoyed the video. More to come.